Welcome, everyone, to the FantasyCruncher Wide Receivers Week 16 preview on the FantasyCruncher YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and if you want a free shot at a free week of FantasyCruncher Pro, NFL and NBA this week, we're going to give you both for a free week. Leave your username in the chat along with the wide receiver that you think scores 2 or more touchdowns this week. We're just looking for the guy that can get the end zone twice. They don't have to do it. Just leave the name of the guy you think that will, and you'll be entered in a drawing to do it. Simple enough. We got a lot of great receivers on the board this week. So let's talk about a few. Michael Thomas at the top, on the road, 9,300. I'm going to fade him. You know, look, he's phenomenal. He's the best receiver, but this is Drew Brees' second game outside. Saints really don't have a whole lot to play for in this game. Home field throughout's on the line, but they're basically a lock to get that anyways. So for me, it's a situation where I'm going to kind of avoid Michael Thomas here. I think this is a good chance for them to potentially work on that running game, which has been struggling a little bit. That next tier of receiver is kind of where I'm starting. Julio Jones, 8,000 against Jacksonville. We saw it without Calvin Ridley. He just got fed with 20 targets. I don't think he'll get 20 this week, but I think 13 to 16 firmly back in equation and worth every penny of $8K against the Jaguars team that frankly kind of looks like it's just given up. This kind of reminds me of the Week 16 game last year where maybe it was Week 15 where Arizona went to Atlanta and just got absolutely clobbered by that Atlanta offense. Amari Cooper, 6,700 is my next favorite on this list. This is a must-win game. Whether it's Dak, whether it's Cooper Rush, doesn't really matter to me. Amari Cooper is a stud. You beat Philly through the air. We've seen team after team do it. Terry McLaurin last week did it. I'm going to ride Amari here. You got to get your playmakers the ball, and he can crush in this spot. Next up is Courtland Sutton. He's 6,200. He's been a guy that I've just loved for a long time. I not right away. Definitely not right away. But soon after, I just fell in love with this kid. He's just a beast. Drew Lock has quickly figured out that if you want to be good, you just throw him the football. And I think that's going to lead to some success here. Against this Detroit secondary, beat up, getting lit up by the pass against everyone. Kind of one of those guys that I like. Terry McLaurin's a nice option, 6,200. Not in the top 5 like Julio, Cooper, and Sutton are, but he's definitely a super viable option here. The next guy in the top 5 for me is Tyler Boyd. You know, look, AJ Green's done. Miami's secondary is trash. And Cincinnati's going to have to throw here. Miami, as you can see, dead last against the pass in the last month, and they haven't exactly faced murderous row of passing attacks in that last month either. So Andy Dalton's been peppering Boyd with 10-plus targets. Lone exception was that Pats game where he got shadowed by Gilmore, and Dalton still gave him 7 targets. Now, maybe targeting Gilmore 7 times wasn't the best plan for the Bengals, but still, even despite a horrible matchup, Dalton was still trying to get Boyd the ball. This matchup is much better. Love Tyler Boyd today in tournaments. To kind of go down, there's definitely some cheap guys you can consider. Danny Amendola's available. Marquise Brown's still available. Tyrell Williams is still available. Lots of good options. And then we can even get cheaper to a guy who will be on almost every team I build, and that is Greg Ward Jr. going up against this Dallas secondary that has been vulnerable. You know, even despite last week's great game against the Rams, they've been vulnerable. Ward has gotten 9 targets in back-to-back games here. I watched that game against Washington. Ward was a light-minute add to my player pool. It was 3K on some sites, and I dead-minute him on Yahoo, and I just ended up with a ton of them. And I watched every game, and as soon as they got rid of 2 deep safeties, he went and caught like 5 catches for 50 and a touchdown on one drive. They went back to the 2 deep safeties after that, but the thing is, Dallas doesn't play a lot of 2 deep safety here. They like to blitz. They like to put pressure on guys. I think Greg Ward, with those intermediate routes over the middle, good hands, good athleticism, can really take advantage of that. So 4,200 for Greg Ward, not enough for me. I think he's way too cheap, and I'll be super heavy on him. He'll be my highest owned receiver of the week. Would take some incredible news for that not to happen at this point. Corey Davis against New Orleans is interesting, but I'm not ready to start attacking New Orleans on the road. Although I do think Tennessee has a chance to perform a little better than expected. Tim Patrick is another value option if you need one. Traquan Smith came to life last week. But honestly, unlike last week where we had just tons and tons of punts, I guess N'Keal Harry is an option again this week, but I'm not super all in about it as I maybe was about some other guys last week. You know, there's some cheap guys down here you can play, like Amendola and Marquise Brown. I know I talked about these guys. They're just like, they're kind of just there. They're not super sexy, but they're nice. So that's kind of how I view this tier. I kind of just would rather, you know, lock in Ward, you know, play a lot of Boyd, and then pay up for one expensive receiver. That's kind of how I'm game planning it. You know, it's late in the season. Definitely things can change on Saturday, Sunday. Some random guys can get benched and change situations. But for now, that's kind of how I'm approaching this week at the wide receiver position. Trying to think if there's anything else I kind of forgot. T.Y. Hilton, if he was healthy, I would trust. DJ Moore with Will Grier, that's kind of a tough ask. So I don't want to get so crazy about him either this week. A.J. Brown's just so expensive, I can't get there. Just trying to make sure it's 11 games, but there's kind of a few games where it's just like I don't really have any interest in wide receivers from them. So I guess that's really it, you know? So for me, the top 5, Greg Ward, like far and away the number 1 option. Cortland Sutton, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, and Tyler Boyd. Those are the 5 guys that I'm going to be building around this week. But which one of those guys, well, I guess maybe it's not one of these 5 guys, but I hope it's one of these 5 guys that scores twice in Week 16. Again, leave that in the comments section with your FantasyCruncher username to be entered a chance to win FantasyCruncher Pro for a week for free. That's it. All you got to do. If that's it, Saturday slate preview is up. Quarterbacks is up. Running backs is up. Tight ends and defense will be up shortly after you see this video. And with that, guys, keep on crunching.